So do you think funded trading is the future of the retail trading space?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the industry's shifted quite a lot. We're entering a more mature phase where some of the players in the market who shouldn't be in the market aren't in the market anymore. And I think the traders are getting a lot more savvy as to picking which prop firm they want to go, looking for trust, looking who's going to pay them out, and all these sort of signals in order to sort of figure out which prop, rather than they give me the most drawdown, they give me the most leverage, they've got the biggest discount. I think traders are seeing past those gimmicks and just sort of looking at the sort of more important things with prop firms.
So we asked over 1,000 traders, is funded trading the future of retail trading? So I'll let you have a guess first. What do you think the percentages are to people who said, yes, it is the future, and no, it isn't the future of retail trading?
60-40, 60 in favour of saying it's the future.
Okay. Well, we had a 97% of traders actually said that, yes, it is the future of retail trading. Yeah. Well, which I thought was quite a large ratio, over 1,000 traders. Yeah. But could you just take me back, before we go into the ratios, percentages, could you take me back to before funded trading plus? What did the retail trading landscape look like, and what avenues did traders have to get into the retail trading world?
Well, I think a lot of the times traders are trying to leverage over things that ended up not being a good bet, like binary options and like trying to chase bonuses with brokers and stuff like that. And brokers offered huge amounts of leverage back in the day, and some still do offshore. So traders were to put in like $500 in the account, like euros, pounds, or whatever, and then risking the entire account and just blowing it up, and then just sort of being death by 1,000 cuts, and never actually had a large amount of capital or a large amount of buying power to actually trade with.
1 to 500 leverage, it was like standard, wasn't it? Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. But what problem is, it's like you can hear people say, think of the percentages. No one cares. If you're making 20 quid, no one cares. It's like, you want to be making hundreds of dollars, potentially thousands of dollars a trade. So you can't think of the percentages when you waited like 3 days for a setup and it's like, it's maybe 20 quid.
So we go from brokerages to the popularity of funded trading. Can you just reiterate what are the main advantages of trading with a funded trading firm like Funded Trading Plus?
The big one for me that is sort of people don't get, and people think, you get more capital, which is the obvious one, you get more buying power, you can withdraw big profits for a small upfront fee, that type of thing. But the obvious one for me is the accountability. Now, when a lot of traders fail, they do it because they don't have any sort of rules to stick to. They can just do all sorts of terrible, mischievous things to their account, blow it up. Whereas when you've actually got some sort of rules in place and some sort of accountability to the firm, it's like, someone's watching me, I'm going to behave and actually trade properly and not do stupid things.
So do you think funded trading is the future of the retail trading space?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the industry's shifted quite a lot. We're entering a more mature phase where some of the players in the market who shouldn't be in the market aren't in the market anymore. And I think the traders are getting a lot more savvy as to picking which prop firm they want to go, looking for trust, looking who's going to pay them out, and all these sort of signals in order to sort of figure out which prop, rather than they give me the most drawdown, they give me the most leverage, they've got the biggest discount. I think traders are seeing past those gimmicks and just sort of looking at the sort of more important things with prop firms.
So is there any advantages to your retail brokerages? Is there still advantages to trading brokers over funded trading, or is it?
I think it depends what people want, really. I mean, we've had people who've made quite large sums of money with a prop firm, and then they've wanted to stick it in a normal sort of account.
So you trade in both?
Yeah, I think both is pretty good, to be fair. But it depends what people want. I mean, if people have got lots and lots of money, they may just fund a large account themselves. But for those who need to sort of generate wealth from funded trading, they tend to stick to it. So there's pros and cons to each.
Now, interesting move. I've noticed a lot of brokers are starting to come into the funding trading world industry. What is your thoughts on the reasons why they're doing that, and what do you think their sort of game plan is long term?
Well, they're probably thinking there's loads of money in this for us. Brokers aren't charitable, are they? But no, I think they've let the pioneers sort of test the space, and they've had a look at it, and they've said there's clearly it's simple supply and demand. There's a big demand for funded trading, so the brokers want a piece of it again.
That's clearly a good sign, then, isn't it, for traders in the funded trading space?
I think so. Yeah, I think it adds an air of legitimacy as well. If brokers are confident to come in the space, they're probably foreseeing there might be some reasonable regulation that comes in the future and things like that. So if they're willing to get involved and take the risk, that's a pretty positive indication.
Does this have any other impacts on the funded trading landscape as we see it now, brokers coming into the space?
I don't think so, really. I don't think from a user's point of view it makes any difference at all. You still got the same functionality. But I guess there's good trust signals with sort of brokers, if you like. But then equally, if you look at their rules and which countries they operate in, they're significantly more limiting.
Now let's turn our minds to the 3% of traders who said no, funded trading is not the future of retail trading. Give me some reasons or explanations for why they might think that it isn't the future of the retail trading space.
Yeah, I mean, it could be their own personal view. They may think, this isn't the future for me. I want to get a normal account. But then, there's been a fair bit of disruption in the space, hasn't there? We've seen companies sort of go out of business and things like that. So that they may not be as optimistic in the longevity. But I'm quite surprised at 97.3. I thought it would be more.
Yeah, let's just remind everybody at home as well that this wasn't like a biased survey. There wasn't any incentives to just pick certain answers. So I thought it was quite interesting myself, to be fair. I'm just sort of thinking, you've got brokers, you've got funded trading. What other kind of aspects of retail trading or differences in the industry can we expect to see or maybe see in the future? Or are we sort of capped now at brokers and funded trading firms?
I think so. I mean, unless there's sort of resurgent of a traditional physical prop firm where you actually have a desk and go into an office, but I just don't think that's, particularly with a younger generation of people coming through, that's just not the way people want to work anymore.
What's your thoughts on like a funded trading floor, for example? What's your kind of thoughts on that?
I mean, the problem is it's quite limiting, isn't it, geographically wise? I mean, if you have it like in a big hub like New York or London or something like that, then that's not so bad. But for people who don't want to commute and things like, I mean, that's one of the benefits of trading is you don't have to get on the tube in the morning and then commute into London and then sit at a desk. I mean, there are some positives. I guess if you had a room full of traders, you could bounce off each other, and if there was a proper structure and things like that, that could work. But I think most people prefer the idea of being able to trade from home, laptop, and some appropriate circumstances, mobile.
Yeah, so let's go back to the industry is maturing. So what is your thoughts on the amount of funded trading firms available?
Well, it's interesting. So this, like I said earlier, this more mature phase where we had this explosion of firms in 2022 and 2023, all these like influencer-led firms and derivatives of other firms. So I think there's obviously fewer firms available now, and I predict there'll be even fewer in the coming months. So the firms that are going to survive and the firms that are available now that still have the trust, that still have good business, are the ones that have done the things right, I would generally say. There's probably a good 10 firms or so maybe who are probably still doing things at a level that's probably going to keep them in the game for the long term.
Yeah, and you've touched upon this on like previous episodes and stuff, but what are like some of the things that traders can do now with the amount of new firms out there to make sure they're not getting misled or mistreated in any sort of way?
No, it's a good question. It's one that's worth reiterating. It's just a case of looking for trust. It's what do traders want? They want to be able to purchase an account, get it, they want to trade trading conditions that aren't been skewed against some of wider spread slippage or anything artificial like that. If they make profit, they want to get paid. They don't want hidden rules. They don't want to, be guessing about what they're allowed to and not able to do. And that involves like clarity on the website, boring things like that. Is customer service available to answer questions? So the trader's feeling confident when they pass, and once they do pass, and if they profit and withdraw, they want to just get paid, don't they? There's not particularly high expectations, but they're the basic ones. And how traders should go about that is getting to a Discord, start asking questions. Are you getting shut down if you're asking controversial questions, or do they allow some sort of heated debate in Discord? What's the Trustpilot and other review sites, forums? Put the hashtag of that firm's name in Twitter and other social media and see what's about there. Just do some basic due diligence. Only take a couple of hours to do that.
Now, an interesting point with all the firms out there is I find it dead interesting that some firms, they own their own brokerage. And some firms obviously use third-party brokers. Could you just talk to me through that whole process? Why do some firms own their own brokerages? Why do some firms use other brokerages? And what sort of pros and cons are there to the whole system, really?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, to be fair. I mean, we've explored the idea of buying a broker and things like that. I mean, some will own it because they want to do normal sort of CFD business, and I'll have that side of it as well. It doesn't particularly interest me at the moment compared to funded trading. But we've always liked the idea of just two things. One, let the experts handle it. It's like if we bring it in-house and we need to train a whole team and find and headhunt and things like that, and it's a case of, well, let's let a regulated broker take care of all the pricing or things like that. And then what this also sends the signal to the trader is you're not so-called marking your own homework. It's like if I go to our partners and say, I never would, of course, and say I want to add slippage, I want to add spreads, they'll say absolutely not. We're regulated, we've got our integrity, and we could get... So the temptation, if it were even there, can't even be done. I'm not saying the firms that do have their brokers do that. Yeah, I mean, if you're controlling your own sort of price feeds and things like that, you have to mark up the spread, you can mark up the slippage, you can do sort of like profiles to the more volume that goes in, you can add more slippage and things like that. And some firms have been caught out doing that, whereas if using a third-party reputable broker who is sort of regulated, ideally multi-jurisdictional, then it's sort of pretty reassuring that the prop firm's not going to be able to do that.
Talk me through that process of the manipulation of the spreads and volume and stuff. So I'm a trader, I enter a trade.
Yeah.
How can I tell that something's not quite right or something's getting manipulated in the background? Can you tell, or is it just...
sometimes it's consistent, so it'll be done in a very artificial way. Like if you imagine like a pyramid, you've got the top of the book, which is like, you know, the small position sizes and the larger position sizes, and generally the bigger you trade, you know, you're going to get more slippage, you're going to get a slightly slower execution. That's perfectly normal, but it should be done in a not particularly uniform way, whereas you know that if I trade one lot, I'm always getting slipped by this. If I trade two lots, I'm always getting slipped by this. That's done in a very artificial way, and it can be sort of manipulated and increased, whereas when you're looking at true liquidity, you know, you might have really high volume at a time where it's easy to fill orders and where, you know, maybe through news it all dries up and then you may have some sort of execution issues.
Do you think traders, over the time that the funded trading industry has developed, do you think traders have become more aware of these kind of issues that have cropped up over the years? And are they a bit more savvy with all these kind of little tweaks and problems?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the high profile one sort of almost pushing a year ago now was my Forex funds and all that. Most of that, pretty much everything around that case is all public information. There's all the Twitter detectives and people who posting it all, and I look at it all as well, and that's sort of, you know, one of the accusations levelled against them is they made sort of live conditions worse and things like that. So I think people are a lot more aware of it now.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I think traders moving forward will take consideration in firms who own the brokerage and who don't, and the benefits to both sides of that. So yeah, really good episode there, Simon, and it looks like funded trading is the future of the retail trading world, which I'm sure you'd be happy with.
We do hope so.
Perfect.